Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Lauren and today we are diving into something truly fascinating, how your body reveals what your mind can't see. As I've been sharing in the last little while, a series on the three-dimensional transformation, we're exploring the limitations of staying purely in our heads instead of integrating a whole body response to how we be in this world. Today we're focusing on the second dimension, your embodied wisdom, and how it serves as a sophisticated guidance system for your professional and your personal life. What's remarkable is that most of us have been conditioned to override the physical signals in favor of course, the logical analysis with the mind, the brain, the head is doing. But what if some of your most important insights are being communicated to you through your body right now? Your body is constantly gathering and processing information. It's not just a vehicle for your brain, it is an integral part to your intelligence system. Research in neuroscience actually reveals fascinating findings about this. Did you know that we actually have neural networks through our whole bodies? We have approximately 40,000 neurons in the heart, literally a heart brain, and over 100 million neurons in our enteric nervous system, often called the gut brain. These systems are constantly communicating with our cranial brain, sending information that influences your decisions, often before you consciously are aware of it. And this isn't mystical, though I love that stuff, it's neurological. I remember working with a client who was considering a significant career change, and on paper, this new opportunity checked all the boxes. The compensation was great, the prestigious title, and a clear advancement. And he was convinced that this was the right move. But I noticed in our sessions when this was being discussed, something interesting was going on. There was a change in the physiology and his breathing would change somewhat, get a little bit more shallow, and sometimes his hand would rest on his belly all of a sudden. When I pointed this out, I asked him what he was feeling sensation-wise in terms of his body, and he was surprised. By tuning into his body this way, there was a different response, a response that he was overriding about this very decision. And this was really valuable information that helped in terms of overriding that analytical mind and all those check boxes. It wasn't the right decision to make at that time for him. Your body speaks a sophisticated language all of its own. And here are some of the common physical signals and what they might be communicating. So let's look at tension and constriction. When you feel tightness in your chest, for example, or your shoulders, your jaw, your body might be signaling resistance or some kind of protection. This often emerges when something doesn't align with deeper values, something that doesn't feel right, even though it might look good on paper. So I experienced this myself during a high-stakes presentation. While my mind was focused on delivering the content, I noticed my jaw was clenching and I was feeling really tight in my upper body. When I paused to check in, I realized that I was trying to control the outcome rather than being authentically present in what I was doing. That awareness allowed me to shift in that moment and approach the rest of the presentation in a different way. We can also look at energy levels and vitality. Notice what energizes you rather than what depletes you. And this can be subtle. Your energy isn't just about sleep or caffeine, the things we often think of around energy. It's information about alignment. So I had another client, an executive. He noticed that he felt exhausted after a lot of his meetings, but energized during creative sessions. And this just wasn't a preference. It was his body revealing his natural strengths and potential career direction. He eventually restructured his work so that he could focus more on those creative aspects and less on the operational detail sides of things, leading to a much better fit for him in terms of performance, but more importantly, feeling more fulfilled in what he was doing. Gut responses are another aspect we want to consider. So we often hear that gut feeling, and it's not just a metaphor. Your enteric nervous system processes emotional responses that manifest in physical sensations in your digestive area. So the hand on the gut thing. In my own career transition, I had a perfectly logical plan for the next steps, but whenever I discussed it, I experienced a tightness in my gut, like a discomfort. And I didn't notice it at first. But when I finally did and I honored that signal and I started to explore what was happening, I ended up going in a completely different direction. And that actually led to the work that I'm doing now. That sensation was replaced with a feeling of expansion and excitement. The good news is reconnecting with our embodied wisdom is something that we all can develop. I'm going to give you 3 practical techniques that I use in my positive intelligence cohorts that you can start to use immediately. One of them is the body scan practice. And there's a few different ways of doing this, but what I'm going to recommend is that you just take a little bit of time before an important decision or an important conversation that you have to have. I always recommend closing your eyes because then you can take a deeper scan. Take 1 minute and scan your body from head to toe. I actually like to start from the feet upwards. Notice the sensations in your body without judging them as good or bad. Just simply observe them. Where is the tension that you're feeling? And where is there ease? And what areas feel energized and aligned? What areas might feel depleted? So if you try this now, you can simply close your eyes for a moment and notice what's happening in your body as you consider maybe a current decision or a challenge that you're facing. What signals is your body sending to you right now? A second technique you could explore is the sage stance. And this is really a quick physical reset that helps you activate your wiser self rather than your reactive patterns. So stand firmly with your feet planted shoulder width apart. And you can roll your shoulders up and back, and then just taking a deep breath into your belly. Nice long deep breath. And as you're doing that, imagining there are roots extending from your feet into the ground. And just take a few of these rich, long, deep breaths into your abdomen. If you want to exhale through your mouth, you're welcome to do that. You can do this a few times. This posture actually helps with your nervous system state and creates access to different neural pathways that can help you get rid of that tension and that constriction in your posture. Another is decision testing. This is helpful for important decisions. You can physically embody each option. We stand up and then we physically step into a position, call that position A, and fully imagine having made that first option, having made your choice. Notice all the sensations in your body. Then physically step out. This is a reset, so just shift your brain. Think about what you had for breakfast. And then come back, step into that posture again. And this is option B. And then notice what you're feeling now. Great. And then step out of that. So again, it's subtle work, but you start to pay attention to what your body is telling you, what's going on holistically when you're exploring option A or option B. This technique bypasses the analytical overthinking, and it gives you access of information to the unembodied response, which is what we're trying to build more of. So the goal here isn't to replace thinking with feeling. It's to integrate these intelligence systems. The most effective professionals I work with have developed this integration to really a high art. One of my clients, who is a senior leader, was faced with a difficult restructuring decision. And instead of just analyzing the metrics and the performance data, he used the techniques that we're discussing here to help to inform the decision that he had to make. And in doing so, he noticed tension in his shoulders when considering one of the approaches, actually his first approach, but an open, energized feeling when considering a second option, which was less aligned with the metrics and more aligned with a gut feeling. This bodily information led him to explore aspects of the decision that his mind alone wouldn't allow him to consider. The result was a much more nuanced approach that accounted for the team dynamics, not just the data. Not only was the restructuring more successful than anticipated, but the team commented on how present he was and how attuned he was through the process. That's a compliment. In my own professional journey, learning how to integrate my analytical intelligence with my embodied wisdom, it's really been transformative. Decisions become clearer, relationships more authentic, and my work more aligned with who I truly am, rather than just what makes logical sense. This integration is particularly powerful at midlife when many of us feel a disconnect between external success and internal fulfillment. The body often knows what the midlife transition requires before the mind can articulate it. And this is where we find that struggle in midlife. Let's talk about some specific professional contexts where embodied wisdom provides really critical advantages. In leadership presence. So the most impactful leaders aren't just strategically smart, they're physically present and attuned. There's something in their energy. This presence is communicated non-verbally before you even say a word. Try this. Before your next important meeting, take 30 seconds to ground yourself in that sage stance that we discussed. Notice how this shifts not only your internal state, but how others respond to you. Pay attention to that. Decision-making under uncertainty. When data is incomplete, which it almost always is, embodied wisdom provides additional information channels for you. Before finalizing important decisions, run them through your body's intelligence system using the techniques we've covered here. Authentic communication. Notice what happens in your body when you're about to speak. Is there a constriction, indicating that you might be holding something back? Or does it feel more expansive, suggesting authentic expression? That's what we want. This awareness alone can transform your communication effectiveness. Stress regulation and resilience. Your body signals stress responses before your mind can acknowledge them. By developing this awareness, you can intervene earlier, preventing burnout and maintaining peak performance. And that's what we all ultimately want. Try setting a reminder 3 times daily to check in with your body's signals. This simple habit can dramatically increase your resilience over time. It's building that mind-body connection, which is part of this deeper intelligence that we're talking about. As we've explored today, your body holds incredible wisdom, and it complements and sometimes transcends your analytical thinking. When you learn to access this embodied intelligence, you gain access to a broader spectrum of information for more aligned decisions and authentic leadership. In my January 2026 Positive Intelligence cohort, we're going to be working extensively with these embodied wisdom techniques, integrating them with both cognitive tools and the third dimension of vital intelligence that we're going to explore in next week's video. I'd love to hear your experiences. What signals has your body been sending that your mind might have been overlooking? How might developing this embodied awareness transform your professional effectiveness? Leave a comment below and share one insight or a question from today's exploration. If you'd like to explore how these approaches might apply to your specific situation, I've included a link in the description so you can book a complimentary discovery call. If you found value in this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content on integrated professional development and also personal development through midlife. Until next time, remember that your wisdom lives not just in your thoughts, but in every cell of your being. Thank you so much for being here today. I look forward to seeing you next week and when we're discussing that third dimension, your vital intelligence. See you soon.